Do you think you could sacrifice your own eye just to gain a single drink of wisdom? In Norse mythology, one god did exactly that, Odin, the Allfather. But Odin isn't a ruler who sits safely on a throne. He's a restless hunter of knowledge, obsessed with one terrifying question. How do you fight a future you already know is coming? Because Odin doesn't just want power, he wants understanding, the kind that burns, the kind that costs you something you can never get back. He trades pieces of himself for secrets no one else dares to touch. He walks into darkness not for glory, but to see the truth. In this story, we'll follow Odin's most legendary sacrifices, the moment he gives up an eye at Mímir's well, the 9 nights he hangs from Yggdrasil to seize the runes, and how he builds an army of the dead in Valhalla, not to celebrate victory, but to prepare for the final war of Ragnarök. Because the most haunting thing about Odin is this: he learns the end of the world, and he chooses to face it anyway. Odin's story begins with a fear most gods try to ignore. The future is real, and it is coming. In the Norse world, fate isn't a rumor, it's a force. The Norns weave it, omens whisper it, and every prophecy points toward the same horizon, Ragnarök, the final war that will break the old order and swallow even the gods. Odin, the Allfather, doesn't look away from that horizon. He becomes obsessed with one goal: to learn enough to face what cannot be stopped. That obsession drives him to a place where wisdom is said to be older than the gods themselves, Mímir's well. Odin approaches not as a king demanding answers, but as a seeker willing to pay. Mímir does not grant knowledge to anyone for free, not even the Allfather. The price is brutal and absolute. Odin doesn't bargain, he doesn't hesitate. He gives up one of the most precious things a warrior can possess, his own eye. The sacrifice is permanent. It is a mark carved into his identity. Odin drinks from the well, and when he rises, he is no longer just Odin the ruler. He is Odin the one-eyed god, the one who traded part of himself for sight that reaches beyond the present. But the drink from the well doesn't satisfy him. It only proves something terrifying. The deeper you see, the more you realize how much you don't know. Odin wants the hidden language behind reality itself, the secret power that can bind, protect, curse, and reshape destiny. That power is the runes, not mere letters, but forces woven into the fabric of the worlds. And to take them, Odin chooses a sacrifice even darker than the first. He climbs Yggdrasil, the world tree that holds the 9 realms together, and he does something no ruler should ever do. He offers himself to death. Odin hangs from the tree for 9 nights, wounded by a spear, often understood as his own, alone, without food, without comfort, suspended between life and the abyss. This is not punishment from an enemy. This is Odin turning his own body into a key, using suffering as a doorway. And in the final edge of pain, when the mind breaks open, Odin sees them, runes rising out of darkness like a revelation. He grasps them, and in that moment, he becomes more than a war god. He becomes a master of hidden knowledge, of magic, of fate, someone who understands that power isn't always a sword in your hand. Sometimes power is the rule behind the sword. Even after that, Odin refuses to be blind. He wants to know what moves in every corner of existence, in every realm, in every shadow. So he sends his eyes into the sky. 2 ravens, Huginn and Muninn, thought and memory. Each day they fly across the worlds, watching, listening, collecting secrets from gods and mortals alike. And each night they return to Odin, perching on his shoulders to whisper what they have seen. It's one of the coldest images in Norse myth. A one-eyed god seated in silence while ravens speak the truth of the universe into his ear. But Odin doesn't only gather knowledge, he prepares for war, because he knows knowledge without action is just another form of weakness. Odin's connection to battle is not about bloodlust, it is strategy. He builds Valhalla, the great hall of the slain, and he gathers the finest warriors who die with courage. They are not brought there to rest. They are brought there to train, to feast, to fight again and again, becoming an army shaped for the final day. Valhalla is not a reward. It is a preparation chamber for the apocalypse. And still, no matter how much Odin learns, no matter how many warriors he gathers, there is one truth he cannot escape. The prophecies do not bend for kings. Ragnarök comes anyway. The chains that hold monsters weaken. The world trembles. And waiting in the storm is Fenrir, the monstrous wolf whose destiny is tied directly to Odin's own end. Odin knows it. That is what makes him tragic. He is the god who sees the future clearly and still walks toward it. When Ragnarök finally arrives, Odin rides into the chaos not as a god who believes he will live forever, but as a god who refuses to surrender before the last breath. The myths say Fenrir swallows him, and the Allfather falls. Not because he lacked courage, but because in Norse myth, fate is ruthless and real. And even then, the story does not end in silence. Odin's son Vidar avenges him, destroying Fenrir and proving that Odin's legacy survives the moment of his death. That is the heart of Odin's legend. He is not the god of guaranteed victory. He is the god of the price of wisdom, an Allfather who tears pieces from himself to understand what is coming, who gathers the dead to face the end, and who steps into destiny with open eyes, even when he knows exactly how it ends. And that's why Odin remains one of the most haunting figures in all mythology. He isn't remembered because he was the strongest. He's remembered because he was the one who understood the truth first and still kept moving. He gave up an eye at Mímir's well to see deeper than any king. He hung from Yggdrasil for 9 nights to seize the runes, turning pain into knowledge. He sent Huginn and Muninn across the worlds to bring him the secrets of gods and men. And he built Valhalla not to celebrate war, but to prepare for the final war he knew was coming. Yet the most powerful part of Odin's story is this. Even with all his wisdom, he cannot escape fate. Ragnarök still arrives, Fenrir still waits, and Odin still rides forward. So if there's one message Odin leaves behind, it's not you can defeat destiny. It's something colder and braver. You face destiny with open eyes, because true power isn't living forever. True power is knowing the end and choosing to stand anyway.